I know how strongly people feel about children's centres and how strongly people feel in Chipping Norton, and that's why I'll be representing, of course, my constituents' views to the County Council. They've got to make difficult decisions, and they have to make all the numbers add up, but these are important services, and I know they'll want to think very carefully about what they hear.
These difficult decisions are being made because of the cuts which are being dictated by central government and what effect that has on local budgets.
Well, of course, every council has to make difficult decisions, just as the government's had to make difficult decisions, but actually when it comes to the grant for children's centres, that grant hasn't been cut, actually. The money is there available. It's up to local councils how they spend it. But everyone has to make difficult decisions. I mean, the police, for instance, have seen their budget cut by 20%, and yet crime is still falling. So you can provide good public services while saving money. That's what everyone has to do right across the world.
The concern is a significant cut to children's centres. We've got 44 in Oxfordshire, and there's some talk that 37 could go, leaving just 7 in a large county, in a rural county.
Well, of course, local MPs like me want to stand up for rural services and make sure we have good rural services. As I say, the County Council has to make difficult decisions. They put around a lot of ideas, a lot of proposals, a lot of thoughts, and then people make their views known, and that's the way things should work, and that's the way that things will work.
Do you support the ACE Centre in Chipping Norton and children's centres in Oxfordshire?
I'm a big supporter of children's centres right across the country, and as a local MP I always stand up for local services. As I say, the County Council have difficult decisions to make, but I'm sure they'll be listening to the strength of local feeling on this issue.
So the villain of this piece is the leader of Oxfordshire County Council, Ian Hudspeth. Ian Hudspeth, welcome to the programme.
Good morning, Phil.
Has David Cameron spoken to you about this issue?
He has contacted me. I mean, what I've got to emphasise, Phil, is that no decision has been taken yet. And this is not about any decision that's been made to close or any centre in particular. It's about looking at the funding for all the service across the county council. And what we'll be doing is we'll be looking, if we do make the decision to reduce funding, at all the services, seeing what's best for the locality, because quite honestly, one size doesn't fit all. We'll be looking individually around the county to make sure we get the best fit for everybody. And of course Charlotte, who has just said that wants to work with the county council, and that's exactly what I was saying last week at Banbury, and I said the same in Oxford, that if these services are vital and so important to communities, I want to work with the community so we can find solutions to this and make sure that we have the services there to protect the most vulnerable in our society. And that's the important thing we've got to do. As I say, I'll be working with all the stakeholders, including the local MPs, because it's not just about the ACE Centre in Chipping Norton, it's about the service right across the county. And I'll be working with everybody to make sure that's happened. And I was really delighted to hear that Charlotte wants to work with us, because once again, I repeat, no decisions have been taken about this.
Okay.
And if a decision is taken, it'll be about the overall funding. In December, we'll make that decision sort of early on in December to go forward to Cabinet, and then it'll be over a process of 12 to 24 months where we'll actually be making sure that we have the correct services for the areas, and that's all about getting the right air system in place for Chipping Norton or other areas.
No, you say no decision has been taken yet, but this cutting the children's centre seems to be the first sort of firm proposal to have been put forward. Have you been surprised by the wealth of the strength of support against these closures?
Obviously, people feel very close to children's centres, and I can understand. But I want to work with those people so that we can find the best solutions for the area.
Yeah, you said that, Ian. I just wonder if you've been.
No, Phil, it's about.
Ian, you have said it. You have said that a couple of times, and so the point's been made. Has the strength of feeling against closures surprised you?
I think that obviously everybody's come forward and they're talking about this, but we're talking about £61 million worth of additional savings. And it's not just about children's centres. Even if we were to go across this, we wouldn't be making the savings just in those areas. So there's other areas that I'll be would like to discuss with people, because there's adult services, there's the highways areas, trading standards. And tonight at Wantage Town Hall, I'll be going for the third of the public meetings, and again on Didcot on Wednesday, and Thursday in Witney. There's a special one in the Marlborough School in Woodstock on the 21st of November to talk about rural issues, because we are a rural county. We want to make sure we get the best for those. So we're being out there, we're going to everybody before we actually make any decisions or proposals, because we want to have that conversation about all the services. As I say, it's adult services to make sure that, the 100,000 people over 65 in Oxfordshire get the best service possible for the funding we've got.
So so you're looking at services in the round, but just today I just want to look at the potential around children's services, because one of the things that the Prime Minister said was that the money that Oxfordshire County Council receives from central government to support children's services has not been cut. He said that the children's support grant hasn't been cut. So if you are looking at cutting those services, that's down to you. It's not down to them. Is that true?
Well, one of the things about it is the Children's Centres grant was put into was funded by Sure Start, which went into the early intervention grants, and now that has actually been rolled up and is part of the revenue support grant we get overall. So it's all moving forward, and the allocation isn't necessarily ring-fenced in one particular area at all. So we have to make the tough decision, where are the best services for that money to go?
No, absolutely, but within all that jargon, if you'll forgive me for criticising what you've just said there, but within all that jargon, it does sound like the amount of money coming into Oxfordshire to look after the children's centres has remained stable. It is just the way you choose to slice the cake that is changing.
As I say, it's the Sure Start grant was a ring-fence grant that has now been put into the early intervention grant and has then been rolled over to revenue support grant. If you actually look at overall, there's been a 22% or a £4.9 million reduction in that grant when it was transferred over to the revenue support grant. So that's bundled up all together, and while it's not necessarily allocated to one area or not, that is the reality of the situation. And of course, overall by 2018, our government funding will have reduced by 40%.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about. We've made £127 million worth of savings. We're going to make another 74, but on top of that, we have to make £61 million worth of savings.
Right.
It sounds very technical, Phil, but those are the figures.
Okay.
They are the facts.
Got them. All right.
Good.
Will the Prime Minister's intervention in this issue make any difference to the decision that you reach?
The intervention of the local MP will be taken into consideration when we're moving forward with all the proposals. As I say, it's not just about one centre, it's about all the centres across the county. We'll be talking to all the MPs, to all the local stakeholders, and they all make representations, and all those considerations will be taken into account.